Campfire Classics is a classic literature podcast. However, your hosts will occasionally use not-so-classy language and immature humor to describe very mature situations. As such, listener discretion is advised. Hi, I'm Ken Sandberg.
And I'm Heather Michelle Waller.
Welcome to Campfire Classics, where we sacrifice ourselves for art.
I will not be singing today. If you can't tell, Heather's sick.
Yeah, we're getting this one recorded despite some health risks. Well, hopefully not risks, but
risks.
Anyway, issues.
It's been a long week. Basically, I think I have the flu, and I had a day and a half of like tummy explosions and excitements, and
which, in case you're listening to this during dinner, we'll not go into details over.
Are you sure? I can like paint a picture of the bathroom floor. It was funny. I was supposed to work on Friday, and Thursday evening was
the peak.
Was the peak of excitement, and I entitled my email to my boss and my supervisors as "From the Bathroom Floor."
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
The title of the email was "From the Bathroom Floor" because I literally was typing it on my phone while I laid on the bathroom floor on two towels. Yep.
I know when I got into work, the first question was, "Hey, how's Heather doing?" And I was like, "Oh, she's okay. You know, last night she started feeling," and a hand went up immediately, and our boss was like, "Oh, I know. She sent me a rather graphic email."
Yeah, when I saw my boss a couple days late, because I did have to go to work on Saturday. And now at that point, my fever had gone away, and I was okay. I seem to have like gotten a little better, and then now it's back to now it's in my like all my bronchial stuff. I think all the sinus shit has dropped into my chest, which is, anyone knows, super painful. I've been up coughing most of the night.
But it does make you sound like a 1940s movie star when you talk.
I can put on my Katharine Hepburn, and it definitely works. It sounds like I've been smoking cigarettes every day all of my life since I was 8 years old.
1940s movie star.
Exactly. But yeah, I saw my boss, and they were like, "That wins the medal for the most graphic I'm sick email I've ever received." I'm like, I just wanted you to know. It's funny because I reread it and I'm like, it's actually not that graphic. It just said, "I'm throwing up." Like, it didn't, I wasn't like, "and it tastes like, and it looks like." Which
Let me describe to you the Jackson Pollock.
Yes, that is now my my life. But no. So we're here. I'm glad Ken's reading, because all I have to do is like introduce the story and then make occasional comments and try not to cough into the mic so much that Ken has to edit 1,000 hacks out of the episode. But
yes, because what we traditionally do here at Campfire Classics is read short stories that we've pulled from the public domain and make penis jokes out of literally goddamn everything. But before we get to that, I actually have part 2 of a recurring bit that, well, by recurring, I mean it's recurring this week and it happened last week, called Ken's Hot Takes.
Ken's Hot Takes. Do we have a theme song for that yet?
Not to my knowledge.
Can it just be this? Ken's Hot Takes. Yum.
I like that.
It was so, no, I don't like
Somewhere
it. Somewhere
between Hot Pockets and Red Robin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
And kind of dissonant.
Yeah. Anyway, this is Ken's Hot Takes, where I make problematic proclamations and share my contentious opinions. The calendar sucks.
Okay.
It just does. It is logistically, mathematically, and semantically. The 12-month calendar that we have is terrible. It's stupid, and it's in the wrong order. So don't worry, I've fixed it.
Oh, good.
So here's the thing. We have 52 weeks in a year, right?
Yes.
And yet we have 12 months.
Yes.
Which breaks down badly because 52 divided by 4, which is the number of weeks in a month, is actually 13. So first of all, we need an extra month.
Well, yes.
So the first thing we're going to do is add a 13th month. No, the first thing we're going to do is rearrange the months. I'm sorry, let me backtrack. We're going to rearrange the months so that the beginning of the year is on March 1st.
Okay.
The reason we're doing that is so that September, October, November, December are months number 7, 8, 9, and 10. Sept, Oct, Nov, Deca, right?
Okay, that makes sense.
So now the calendar runs March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February.
Well, that's what it used to be.
That's what it used to be. And now we're adding a 13th month.
Okay.
So we're making all of the months 28 days, and we're adding a tridecamary. Trideca is Latin for 13.
Yes.
So tridecamary.
Okay.
28 days per month. That's 364 days in 13 months. Exactly. Every month is the same. Every month begins on a Sunday. It's great. Everything is even. We're one day short. So what do? After the last day of the year, we have holiday. It's a free day. Nothing counts. You're welcome. You get to rest and recover from your hangover after your celebrations from New Year's Eve.
But New Year's Eve is now in March.
No, New Year's Eve is now February 28th.
Oh, yeah.
New Year's Day is March 1st.
March, yeah.
And
which is what it used to be.
And there is free day in between.
And free day.
Yes.
Okay.
Now we do still have to deal with leap year.
Yeah, I was going to say
once every 4 days, it's free weekend. Or 4 years, it's free weekend.
Okay.
That's it. Very simple. 13 months, 28 days each, 1 free day each year, 2 free days every 4 years.
Okay.
Based on this calendar, I think it's currently the middle of April at the moment.
I'm confused, but that might just be my cough syrup. But no, that's what it was until 1751, because the year that Betsy Ross was born, 1752, was the very first year the Gregorian calendar was put into play. And that's so significant to Betsy Ross because she was born on January 1st, 1752, which was the first year in history that was New Year's Day. Like,
she was born on the first day of the modern calendar.
In the Gregorian calendar, yes. Because up until then, it was just another day of a day of the calendar. But that was when it officially went into to play, was that very first, that day she was born, a whole new calendar was born. So,
yeah, I don't think they had the right number of months yet back then, though. There was still some month confusion on the old calendar.
I mean, isn't there some month confusion now? I mean,
there is.
Also, can we get rid of daylight savings time and all that shit? So
everything got screwed around because Julius Caesar and Augustus Caesar were vain pricks and decided to add a couple of months and name them after themselves. So July is named after Julius Caesar. August is Caesar Augustus. So we just added those months for no reason, which is what pushed back September, October, November, December to months 9, 10, 11, 12 instead of 7, 8, 9, 10.
You know, what are you going to do?
Fix the calendar. So,
Ken's hot takes.
Dear calendar makers.
The calendar makers.
Fix it. I know you're listening. Just do it.
I want one of those tear-off calendars that just is like things that humans have fucked up. Every fact. It's one of those tear-off things. And the first day of the tear-off is the calendar.
I like that. Then the second one is vegetables. They're not real.
I love vegetables.
Yes, they're delicious. Never mind. Maybe that'll be a future hot take.
Okay, I guess so. This is I'm learning a whole lot of new things about my partner.
This has been Ken's confusing bit. We'll see if it continues.
Whoop whoop.
Ken's confusing bit. Also the name of my sex tape.
Hi, Mom and Dad.
Anyway. Now that we got through that, this week Heather has chosen a story for me to read, but before we get to it, she's going to read a couple of fun facts just to sort of set the tone, get us in the mood. You know the drill. Take it away. Fun facts.
So I believe this is a new author. I couldn't find anything otherwise, so
Okay.
we probably read the story already. This is Jean Ingelow, or Jean Ingelow, but I think it's Jean because it's a woman.
Oh, that name doesn't sound familiar.
I did not recognize it, nor did I see it in our documentations that are so up to date. But so she doesn't have a lot of information about her because I don't think she was,
Particularly prolific.
problematic. I think was the thing.
Oh.
She was she was actually quite prolific. She just wasn't problematic, and it tends to be people that
People with drinking problems or
people that or not even problematic, but just she kind of stuck close to home.
Yeah.
Like she didn't travel the world. She didn't go,
She never claimed to be abducted by aliens.
Yeah, she never just disappeared randomly, okay. But her name is Jean Ingelow, and she was born March 17th, 1820. So she was born on St. Patrick's Day.
Great.
She was an English poet and novelist. And she wrote a lot of poetry. A lot of her poetry was actually turned into quite famous songs, which I'll cover in a minute. And she wrote a lot of children's stories as well. So she was born in Boston, Lincolnshire, which is in England, just so you know. It's Boston, but the
English
original,
Boston.
the OG Boston. And she was the daughter of a banker. Now, unfortunately, Dad's banking career, I think there was some sort of, recession or some shit went down. And when she was 14, Dad lost his job and it kind of displaced the whole family. So they moved to a much more modest house in Suffolk. And looking forward, she is prolific enough that later in her, after she passed, that street that they moved to when Dad lost his banking job has been named after her.
Oh.
It is entitled Ingelow Street. So if you live in Suffolk or near there, it used to be called Arcade Street. Now it's called Ingelow Street. So she started writing under a pseudonym, which a lot of women did back in the day. It was Oris, Oris. Which is just kind of
just
mysterious.
Just mononym.
Yeah, it's just
single name.
Yeah, single name. It's like Cher. Cher's writing
Sting. Oris.
Sting the murderer. We are deep into season 1 of. I'm sorry, we're way behind, but we're deep into season 1 of Only Murders in the Building. Speaking of podcasts, all right, so. She started writing under this title Oris with a bunch of verses and magazines when she was quite young. I mean, she was still, I think she was 14, 15. So it was when her dad got displaced, she started channeling a lot of stuff into her writing. And so she was published when she was a teenager.
Wow.
Yeah.
Moral of that story is put your trauma out there.
Yeah, well, use your trauma for good, I think is a good way. So she wrote a lot of things, but her first volume of collections of poetry and verse was a rhyming chronicle of incidents and feelings. So absolutely, put your trauma out there.
I feel things. Here's poems.
I mean, a teenager writing. I mean, if I go. So she clearly was talented because I've read my journals from when I was a teenager, and it ain't publishable. They are not worth being published, but
she's just a 19th century emo kid.
Yeah, exactly. She's 19th century Avril Lavigne. So when her collection got published the first time, it was published anonymously. And then when she turned 30, it came out that it had been her because now she was known, and they were like, "Guess what? That thing you liked, that was me." It was described as charming by Alfred Tennyson, who said he would like to know the author, and they later became friends.
Awesome.
So
that's some reverse skater boy shit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the skater boy came and found her. If Alfred Tennyson was a skater boy.
I was actually thinking she was the skater boy. And he was the ballet dancer.
Oh, yes. She's the badass and he's the like normal kid.
The prancy pop kid.
I would describe Alfred Tennyson as a prancy pop kid. That sounds about right. So as I said, she had, by the time she was 30, quite prolific. She gained public acclaim in the United States as well. So she crossed the pond, as you say, with her skills, mainly for poetry, as I was saying. Another one of her huge collections. The one collection that I spoke about sold over 200,000 copies.
Wow.
At this point, she gave up verse for a while after, she's like, okay, did that.
I've conquered the world of poetry. Now I'm going to move on to sumo wrestling.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly what she did. How'd you know? She actually moved.
Maybe we have read her before.
Yeah, that's right. Totally forgot. She started writing novels. So she wrote a novel called Off the Skellings in 1872, Fated to be Free in 1873, Sarah de Bergener in 1880, and John Jerome in 1886.
These all sound like they were adapted into Die Hard movies. Die Hard, Fated to be Free.
Die Hard, Off the Skellings. Maybe that, you know what? We're going to say that. Yep, these were all adapted into being the Die Hard movies. Fun fact. But she also, with those novels, she started writing children's stories. She wrote collections called Studies for Stories, Stories to a Child, Mopsa the Fairy, and other stories for children that were actually very heavily influenced, she said, by Lewis Carroll. So, drugs. So opium, y'all. It was the time. Mopsa the Fairy, which I think I've heard of when I was like, I know a character named Mopsa. That's like a famous, so maybe I do know this person. It's about a boy who discovers a nest of fairies and discovers a fairyland while riding on the back of an albatross, which sounds a whole lot like The Rescuers.
Yeah.
And
also sounds a whole lot like a real gnarly trip.
Yeah, exactly. Opium. And this story was one of her most popular works that's been reprinted over and over again. So I probably either read it as a child, or have seen it somewhere.
Also, Mopsy is the name of one of Peter Cottontail's siblings.
Yeah, fuck
right?
Those people.
Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail.
No,
maybe it's not Peter Cotton. It's one of them.
No, it's right. You're right.
Yeah.
Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail hopping down the forest. Picking up, is that feel
That's a little
nice
bunny
and bopping
foo-foo.
them on the head.
Little bunny foo-foo,
Oh, yeah.
hopping through the forest, scooping up the field nice and bopping
them
him on the head.
Which is super rude.
Along came the good fairy, and she said, little bunny foo-foo, I don't want to see you scooping up the field nice and bopping him on the head. And little bunny foo-foo said, fuck you, bitch. I don't think that's how the song ends. I don't know where it goes from there.
Or it just keeps going on because it's one of those songs that never ends because children's stuff. But
I think the reason children's songs go on for so long is because they were written in a time when parents were just desperate to keep their kids entertained for 3 minutes longer. They couldn't just hand them an iPad.
Yeah.
Just sing the song that never ends for another 12 minutes.
Yeah, don't. What we saw, if people complaining about Baby Shark clearly do not remember the song that never ends, because one of these things is similar to the other, but one of these things is much more annoying than the other. Personally, so some of feedback about her work. I was saying that a lot of her poems were actually turned into songs. So. She had one of her collections that was published in 1898 has frequently been, those poems have frequently been turned into songs, one called Sailing Beyond Seas and When Sparrows Build in Supper at the Mill, which were very popular songs in her day. Her best-known poem, in also The High Tide of the Coast of Lincolnshire.
The one sounds...
It sounds like those songs that are in those art books that you have to sing when you're like taking voice lessons in high school.
Yeah, I was going to say, or possibly like a weird metaphorical hymn in the Lutheran Book of Worship.
Yes, and she was very influenced by her.
Sparrows build their nests on the shore, and we all go and sing evermore. We'll pray the stuff and go to places.
Is this real?
Man, no, I have no idea what that was.
Oh, did you make that up?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it sounded like a real song. That sounds like a hymn. But no, she like these. It's clearly like an art song. It's like those books, those little like, yellow books that are like 24 art songs for a mezzo soprano.
Mm-hmm.
So she had a lot of songs published out of her poetry, Yippity Yaya. One of her poems was a favorite of Agatha Christie to tie it back into our muse. She actually quoted Jean in two of her novels, The Moving Finger and Ordeal by Innocence. So she like literally used her text. So that's pretty amazing.
Very cool.
I mean, most of the, like, she was a woman, people were like, meh. Yeah. So a lot of the literary world dismissed her, but she was very popular. And she had a long, successful life. She ended up passing away in Kensington. And by that time, she kind of finished writing at that point. She died in 1897 and buried in London. So she's pretty dapper looking. If you want to look up some photos of her, she's pretty fancy. She looks like a suffragette there.
Oh my!
Because she has like a sash. I don't think she was.
Her little it's like a lace sash.
Yeah, and she got a little matching hat. But yeah, so this is Jean Ingelow, and today you're going to be reading one of her short stories that is from her children's collection.
Excellent.
And
I was going to say, it'd be wild if... Anyway, that is Jean Ingelow. Today you'll be reading Charles Dickens.
Today you'll be reading my butt.
Look, it's a new tattoo.
Look me. So today you will be reading Jean Ingelow's children's story or story for the youth, The Prince's Dream.
All right, let's start this fire.
Yes.
The Prince's Dream by Jean Ingelow. For some reason, I was imagining her name looking a lot more like the word igloo.
Oh, Ingelow?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I just, in my head, I heard what you said, but I was picturing the word igloo. Huh.
As the brain tricks you to think, yes.
Anyway, Prince's Dream, Jean Ingelow. If we may credit the fable, there is a tower in the midst of a great Asiatic plain, wherein is confined a prince who was placed there in his earliest infancy, with many slaves.
Oh, no.
And attendants, and all the luxuries that are compatible with imprisonment.
So the prince is in prison, but he has slaves?
Yeah,
that's a multi-layer of yuck.
It's confusing prison.
Don't love that.
No.
Problematic.
Whether he was brought there from some motive of state, whether to conceal him from enemies or to deprive him of rights, has not transpired. But it is certain that up to the date of this little history, he had never set his foot outside the walls of that high tower. And that of the vast world without, he knew only the green plains which surrounded it. The flocks and the birds of that region were all his experience of living creatures, and all the men he saw outside were shepherds.
So it's Rapunzel.
Yes.
So this is the story of Rapunzel.
Yes, but he's a prince. So
he's a prince. Which
Prince Rap, let down your enormous
shaft.
dot.
Oh, and he's been watching the shepherds. He's like, ooh, I like the shepherds. I don't know. That's just what it sounds like to me. Let's find out what he lets down the tower.
And yet, he was not utterly deprived of change, for sometimes one of his attendants would be ordered away, and his place would be supplied by a new one. The prince would never weary of questioning this fresh companion, and of letting him talk of cities, of ships, of forests, of merchandise, of kings. But though in turns they all tried to satisfy his curiosity, they could not succeed in conveying very distinct notions to his mind. Partly because there was nothing in the tower to which they could compare the external world, partly because, having chiefly lived lives of seclusion and indolence in eastern palaces, they knew it only by hearsay themselves.
That's troublesome. He needs some books.
He
At
needs
least
some books.
Rapunzel had some books and some art.
Or some,
and a lizard. Well, that was in the Disney one.
And ideally some, real friends.
Yeah.
Not just friends.
Just someone who's paid to sit there. It's
Well,
like his nanny.
Or worse, not paid to sit.
Well, yeah.
By the sound of
Companion.
it.
We have attendants, companions. We don't know if they are of the paid sort or the unpaid sort.
I think we do know because they were called slaves.
Well, there were both. There was
Slaves and
and
servants.
attendants.
Yeah, so who knows which these ones individually were. They could have been getting paid.
Yeah. Well,
Probably not enough.
Well, no.
At length, one day, a venerable man of a noble presence was brought to the tower, with soldiers to guard him and more fucking slaves to attend him.
Okay, so the attendants and the soldiers are paid, the slaves are not.
Yeah.
That's some fucked up shit, y'all.
I hope this story's leading to a slave rebellion.
Ooh.
This could be like
Maybe
a
the
prequel
prince-
to Spartacus.
Maybe the prince gets out of the tower and frees all the slaves, because those are all he's gotten to know, are the people that are oppressed like him, and oppressed because they've been locked up and don't get to choose their life. And he leads them in a rebellion, and they kill all the stupid people.
This is already feeling a little bit like the Calderon play Life is a Dream.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I hope it has a slightly less tragic twist at the end, but we'll see.
We hope so. They do call it a children's story, but of course Grimm's fairy tales were also children's stories.
It's a children's story from the 1800s.
They're fucking dark. I love that children's stories used to be like, life fucking sucks, get used to it.
We're just
and now
preparing
it's
you for the real world,
And now it's
kid.
like, here's a puppy, it's happy.
Lamb chops, sing along.
Like Bluey and all his shit, which is great. I love it, but, back in the day, they really taught kids to prepare themselves for reality here.
The prince was glad of his presence, though at first he seldom opened his lips, and it was manifest that confinement made him miserable. With restless feet he would wander from window to window of the stone tower and mount from story to story. But mount as high as he would, there was still nothing to be seen but the vast, unvarying plain, clothed with scanty grass and flooded with glaring sunshine. Flocks and herds and shepherds moved across it sometimes, but nothing else, not even a shadow. For there was no cloud in the sky to cast one. The old man, however, always treated the prince with respect and answered his questions with a great deal of patience, till at length he found a pleasure in satisfying his curiosity, which so much pleased the poor young prisoner that as a great condensation, he invited him to come out on the roof of the tower and drink sherbet with him in the cool of the evening, and tell him of the country beyond the desert and what seas are like, and mountains and towns.
Push him off the roof! Push him off the roof!
Wait, who are we pushing off the roof? The old man who is a new prisoner, or the young prince who's been locked in there his whole life?
I mean, the young prince has got a longer life ahead of him. I don't know.
Just looking for some action? I don't fucking care. Push someone off the roof.
I just want to get the fuck out of here. Yeah, I guess he's a prisoner too, I guess.
Yeah.
So, why did they send this guy to the same tower as the prince.
We don't even know why the prince was sent there.
Probably because he has an evil stepmother. If he
Yeah.
follows any pattern. But maybe this is his dad. Maybe this is the king, and we don't even know. Maybe there is a slave rebellion happening, and they're being sent there.
It's the working class are sending all the rich people into the tower.
So we're in France. Yes. Take notes, everybody. How do we send the working class? How do we send the rich people into a tower and lock them up forever? And they can only eat sherbet. I mean, sherbet's pretty good. Is it rainbow sherbet? It's good shit.
I like
Or
the
like
orange stuff, too.
The Flintstones push pop.
Yeah. So they're sitting on the roof, having a push pop, chatting about life.
Yep.
I have learned so much from my attendants and know this world pretty well by hearsay, said the prince as they reclined on the rich carpet which was spread on the roof. The old man smiled but did not answer. Perhaps because he did not care to undeceive his young companion, perhaps because so many slaves were present, some of whom were serving them with fruit and others burning rich odors on the little chafing dish that stood between them.
This is a pretty bougie prison if they've got their own fucking attendants and quote-unquote slaves.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued as to what is about to fucking, like,
Why
what is
are they
going down.
there?
Yeah, why are they there if they're being literally fed fruit like a fucking, like, Maharaja, and they're burning incense on the roof of, like, life is hard, but it's just because they're locked me here. But other than that, life's pretty fucking great. I wish they'd give me a book.
Is this a brown M&M? I said only green M&Ms.
Fuck this prison!
Servant kicked off the roof.
Yeah, there you go.
But there are some words to which I never could attach any particular meaning, proceeded the prince as the slaves began to retire.
Yeah, let them go.
And 3 in particular that my attendants cannot satisfy me upon or are reluctant to do so. What words are those, my prince? Asked the old man. The prince turned on his elbow to be sure that the last slave had descended the tower stairs, then replied, O man of much knowledge, the words are these: labor and liberty and gold.
Those are the ones he doesn't understand. Work.
Yep. Work, freedom, and money.
And money. Well, I bet the slaves could tell you about that if you just talk to them.
Well, they can certainly tell you about work.
Well, they can tell you about all that. They don't have liberty. They work their asses off, and they don't get any gold for working their asses off because they're not liberated. Mm-hmm. The slaves could answer all your questions if you just talk to them.
Well, but that's what he's saying, is that he has talked to them and they're not able to answer those questions because they've never known anything but work and he's never known work. So how do you describe that to someone? None of them have ever known liberty and none of them have ever had to deal with money.
That's true. I guess it's like explaining baseball to someone who doesn't understand. It's in Blast from the Past, when Christopher Walken's trying to explain baseball to Brendan Fraser's character.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, he runs because he has to. Because someone's chasing him? No, because he must. Why? Like, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Prince, said the old man.
I love that we're just calling him Prince.
Yeah.
So in my mind now, it's just Prince.
It's just Prince,
Prince is locked in a tower.
All in purple with a fabulous hat.
You know what? I hope Prince didn't actually die and he's just locked in a tower somewhere. Like contemplating and writing music.
He's locked himself in a tower.
I don't blame him.
Where he's writing the next great magnum opus.
I'm all about it. I don't think Prince would have slaves, though.
No, probably not.
No.
Prince, said the old man, I do not wonder that it has been hard to make thee understand the first, the nature of it, and the cause why most men are born to it. As for the second, it would be treason for thee and me to do more than whisper it here and sigh for it when none are listening. But the third need hardly puzzle thee, Thy hookah is bright with it. All
They have a
thy...
hookah? Sweet.
Got to do something to
They're
pass the time.
smoking a hookah? He don't have any books, but they give him a fucking hookah?
Well,
So he is high. So this is opium, fever dreams. I love it. Sweet.
all thy jewels are set in it. Gold is inlaid in the ivory of thy bath. Thy cup and thy dish are of gold, and golden threads are wrought into thy raiment.
I love that there's a footnote about what a hookah is.
This is a children's story.
It is. It is. It says, hookah, a kind of pipe for smoking tobacco used in Eastern Europe and Asia, and hipster bars. It doesn't say hipster bars, but that's just a fact.
That's where you can see them today in America.
Yes. Or that really fancy dessert place in Nashville, North Carolina. Randomly.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, but by and large, if you want to see a hookah, go to your hipster neighborhood, your local hipster. If you're in New York, head out to Brooklyn. If you're in Philly, go up to Fishtown.
Yep.
You'll see people smoking hookahs.
I like hookah, actually.
Yeah.
I used to have one. I used to have a little one. Anyway, so they getting high on the roof, talking about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, basically.
Kinda, yeah.
I mean,
well, life,
kinda.
liberty, and the pursuit of property.
Of money.
That is true, replied the prince, and if I had not seen and handled this gold, perhaps I might not find its merits so hard to understand, but I possess it in abundance, and it does not feed me, nor make music for me, nor fan me when the sun is hot, nor cause me to sleep when I am weary. Therefore, when my slaves have told me how merchants go out and brave the perilous wind and sea and live in unstable ships and run risks from shipwreck and pirates, and when, having asked them why they have done this, they have answered for gold, I have found it hard to believe them. And when they have told me how men have lied and robbed and deceived, how they have murdered one another and leagued together to depose kings and oppress provinces, and all for gold, then I have said to myself, either my slaves have combined to make me believe that which is not, or this gold must be very different from the yellow stuff that this coin is made of. This coin, which is of no use but to have a hole pierced through it and hang to my girdle, that it may tinkle when I walk.
Where's his girdle?
And why are you tinkling when you walk? That's actually really hard.
I mean, I guess he never had to learn how to hold it. It's just like, go when you want to go. It's like people that pee in the shower.
Just tinkle wherever you are.
Which I know a shocking number of people who are like, yeah, I just pee in the shower. I'm like, no, I know it's sterile, but come on. The toilet's right there.
It is.
Just get out and get back in. Anyway, but yeah, he pierced a hole through it and hung it to his girdle, and then
And
he
now
tinkles.
he tinkles
But
when
that,
he walks.
you know, I'm not going to lie. That was a really good argument.
Oh, yeah.
Because money is a fucking fucked up thing.
So until the age of like computer programming, gold functionally has very little use.
Yeah.
Because it's not strong enough for a building material. It's not like you can't make weapons out of it.
It's pretty.
It's pretty.
And it used to literally be a weight of money. Like,
and it is super conductive. So like when it comes to doing computer like it's good at transferring. But yeah. Notwithstanding this, said the old man, nothing can be done without gold, for it is better than bread and fruit and music, for it can buy them all, since all men love it and have agreed to exchange it for whatever they need.
And this is why women should rule the fucking world, because you can make music for free. Fruit grows on fucking trees, and bread is made from plants. So fuck off. Men ruined the world. It's time world. I'm calling it now. We're seeing stuffs tonight. I'm in a mood. It's time for women to take over, because men have been running this world for thousands of years, and this is where we are, and this is the way we think. So like, let's move on over, ladies. Let's do this. Rise. Okay.
I'm happy to concede that point. I have no interest in being in charge. How so? Asked the prince. If a man has many loaves, he cannot eat them all.
Lies.
Answered the old man. Therefore he goes to his neighbor and says, I have bread and thou hast coin of gold. Let us exchange. So he receives the gold and goes to another man, saying, Thou hast 2 houses and I have none. Lend me one of thy houses to live in, and I will give thee my gold. Thus again they exchange. It is well, said the prince, but in time of drought, if there is no bread in a city, can they make it of gold?
Yeah, the bread is so much more important than the gold. Bread feeds you.
Not so, answered the old man, but they must send their gold to a city where there is food, and bring that back instead of it. But if there was a famine all over the world, asked the prince, what would they do then? Why, then, and only then, said the old man, they must starve, and the gold would be naught. For it can only be changed for that which is. It cannot make that which is not. And where do they get gold? Asked the prince. Is it the precious fruit of some rare tree, or have they whereby they can draw it down from the sky at sunset? Some of it, said the old man, they dig out of the ground. Then he told the prince of ancient rivers running through terrible deserts whose sands glitter with golden grains and are yellow in the fierce heat of the sun, and of dreary mines where the slaves work in gangs tied together, never seeing the light of day. And lastly, for he was a man of much knowledge and had traveled far, he told him of a valley of Sacramento in the New World.
Hey, California.
And of those mountains where people of Europe send their criminals, and where now their free men pour forth to gather gold and dig for it as hard as for life, sitting up by it at night, lest any should take it from them, giving up houses and country and wife and children for the sake of a few feet of mud whence they dig clay that glitters as they wash it, and how they sift it and rock it as patiently as if it were their own children in the cradle, and afterward carry it in their bosoms and forego on account of it safety and rest.
Someone has some opinions about the gold rush.
Yep.
And so do I, but these are strong opinions.
They're also probably contemporary opinions.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
I mean,
For her.
And for now. I have opinions about that too. Let's, Elon Musk rolls around in fucking like gold bars at night or something because he's a fucking fucknard.
Here's the thing. The only reason I can think of to accumulate and store that much money is so that you can go swimming in it.
Like Scrooge McDuck.
Like Scrooge McDuck. If you are not figuring out how to dive into a pool of your money, there's no excuse for having that much of it.
And you don't need it. Spread it out. Spread the wealth, literally.
Spread the wealth. Throw it into the hurricane. Life is like a hurricane, bitches.
Life is like a hurricane, bitches.
Race cars, lasers, airplanes.
Hurricanes.
It's a duck blur.
Oh.
You might solve a mystery or rewrite history.
DuckTales, woo!
Woo. But Prince, he went on, seeing that the young man was absorbed in his narrative, if you would pass your word to me never to betray me, I would procure for you a sight of the external world, and in a trance you should see these places where gold is dug and traverse those regions forbidden to your mortal footsteps.
Wait, you gonna get him high?
Yep. Vision quest.
You're gonna take him on a little visual journey. Here comes the opium.
Fantastic voyage.
It's like, The moon is in the seventh house, and Jupiter aligns with Mars.
Should really be Jupiter aligning with mouse.
Mouse?
Because it rhymes with house.
Jesus. Yes.
Upon this, the prince threw himself at the old man's feet and promised heartily to observe the secrecy required, and entreated that for however short a time he might be suffered to see this wonderful world. Then, if we may credit the story, the old man drew nearer to the chafing dish which stood between them.
Chafing dish? Is that what happens to my thighs in the summer?
Yes.
So if someone sniffs my inner thighs after a long walk in the summer, they get to go on an opioid dream?
I suppose it depends on what perfume you're wearing.
Lumi.
Which stood between them, and having fanned the dying embers in it, cast upon them a certain powder and some herbs.
Yep.
From whence, as they burnt, a peculiar smoke arose.
It's the good shit.
As their vapors spread, he desired the prince to draw near and inhale them, and then, says the fable, assured him that when he should sleep, he would find himself in his dream at whatever place he might desire, with this strange advantage that he should see things in their truth and reality as well as in their outward shows.
This is some twisted shit.
So, the prince, not without some fear, prepared to obey. But first, he drank his sherbet.
I mean, don't let it melt.
And handed over the golden cup to the old man by way of recompense. Then he reclined beside the chafing dish and inhaled the heavy perfume till he became overpowered with sleep and sank down upon the carpet in a dream.
Aquarius.
And, of course, I'm honestly just imagining him laying down next to you as you rub your thighs together really fast. To vaporize the perfume.
I'm like running. Chafe, and go.
I mean, that is how we start our fire.
Yeah, I know.
That's what that sound... At the beginning of every episode, listeners, That's what that sound is Heather's just running around really fast. You're listening to the sound of her thighs rubbing together. That's what that is.
Who needs a thigh gap when you can open a podcast with the noise of your thighs rubbing together? Lumi, if you want to sponsor us.
This is what is meant by thick thighs save lives.
Thick thighs save lives and start drug
fires.
trips.
Thick thighs get you high.
Thick thighs save lives, get you high, and make you fine. There you go. Trademark. I don't want Lizzo or anybody taking that from me. Unless they want to pay me, and then we'll go. Okay.
The prince knew not where he was, but a green country was floating before him, and he found himself standing in a marshy valley where a few wretched cottages were scattered here and there with no means of communication. There was a river, but it had overflowed its banks and made the central land impassable. The fences had been broken down by it, and the fields of corn laid low. A few wretched peasants were wandering about there. They looked half-clad and half-starved. "A miserable valley indeed," exclaimed the prince. But as he said it, a man came down from the hills with a great bag of gold in his hand. "This valley is mine," said he to the people. "I have bought it for gold. Now make banks that the river may not overflow, and I will give you gold. Also make fences, and plant fields, and cover in the roofs of your houses, and buy yourselves richer clothing." So the people did so, and as the gold got lower in the bag, the valley grew fairer and greener, till the prince exclaimed, "Oh, gold! I see your value now! Oh, wonderful, beneficent gold!" But presently, The valley melted away like a mist, and the prince saw an army besieging a city. He heard a general haranguing his soldiers to urge them on, and the soldiers shouting and battering the walls. But shortly, when the city was well nigh taken, he saw some men secretly giving gold among the soldiers, so much of it that they threw down their arms to pick it up, and said that the walls were so strong they could not throw them down. "Oh, powerful gold," thought the prince, "thou art stronger than the city walls." After that, it seemed to him that he was walking about in a desert country, and in his dream he thought, "Now I know what labor is, for I have seen it and its benefits. And I know what liberty is, for I have tasted it. I can wander where I will, and no man questions me. But gold is more strange to me than ever, for I have seen it by both liberty and labor." Shortly after this, he saw a great crowd digging up a barren hill, and when he drew near, he understood that he was to see the place whence the gold came. He came up and stood a long time watching the people as they toiled, ready to faint in the sun, so great was the labor of digging up the gold. He saw some who had much and could not trust anyone to help them to carry it, binding it in bundles over their shoulders and bending and groaning under its weight. He saw others hide it in the ground and watch the place clothed in rags, that none might suspect that they were rich. But some, on the contrary, who had dug up an unusual quantity, he saw dancing and singing, and vaunting their success, till robbers waylaid them when they slept, and rifled their belongings, and carried their golden sand away.
Ah, the world, ain't it great?
"All these men are mad," thought the prince, "and this pernicious gold has made them so."
I want to point out we have not met a woman in this story yet.
Correct, we have not. After this, as he wandered here and there, he saw groups of people smelting the gold under the shadow of the trees, and he observed that a dancing, quivering vapor rose up from it which dazzled their eyes and distorted everything that they looked at, arraying it also in different colors from the true one. He observed that this vapor from the gold caused all things to rock and reel before the eyes of those who looked through it, and also, by some strange affinity, it drew their hearts towards those who carried much gold on their persons, so that they called them good and beautiful. It also caused them to see darkness and dullness in the faces of those who carried none.
Oh, snap. This is getting real dark. This is getting real truthful. Fuck yeah.
This, thought the prince, is very strange. But not being able to explain it, he went still farther, and there he saw more people. Each of these had adorned himself with a broad golden girdle, and was sitting in the shade while other men waited on them. What ails these people? He inquired of one who was looking on, for he observed a peculiar air of weariness and dullness in their faces. He was answered that the girdles were very tight and heavy, and being bound over the regions of the heart, were supposed to impede its action and prevent it from beating high, and also to chill the wearer, as being of opaque material, the warm sunshine of the earth could not get through to warm them.
Sounds practical. Not.
"Why, then, do they not break them asunder?" exclaimed the prince, and fling them away. "Break them asunder?" cried the man. "Why, what a madman you must be! They are made of the purest gold." "Oh, forgive my ignorance," replied the prince. "I am a stranger." So he walked on, for feelings of delicacy prevented him from gazing any longer at the men with the golden girdles.
Don't stare at their golden girdles too long. It gets awkward.
Keep your eyes off my golden girdle.
Get your face and your fingers and your eyes off my golden girdles.
Go tinkle on your own. But as he went, he pondered on the misery he had seen and thought to himself that this golden sand did more mischief than all the poisons of the apothecary, for it dazzled the eyes of some, it strained the hearts of others, it bowed down the heads of many to the earth with its weight. It was sore labor to gather it, and when it was gathered, the robber might carry it away. It would be a good thing, he thought, if there were none of it.
Amen.
After this is some, socialist propaganda.
It's fucking awesome. I love it.
After this, he came to a place where were sitting some aged widows and some orphan children
Right, we
of
have
the
our
gold
first women.
diggers.
We have our first women.
Yeah.
They're called gold diggers. They're the people of the gold diggers.
Yeah.
I love that. The fucking idiot men out there digging gold, and there's these sad people
who were
just been left.
helpless and destitute. They were weeping and bemoaning themselves, but stopped at the approach of a man whose appearance attracted the prince, for he had a great bundle of gold on his back, and yet it did not bow him down at all. His apparel was rich, but he had no girdle on, and his face was anything but sad. "Sir," said the prince to him, "you have a great burden. You are fortunate to be able to stand under it." "I could not do so," he replied, "only that as I go, I keep lightening it." And as he passed each of the widows, he threw gold to her, and stooping down, hid pieces of it in the bosoms of the children.
You should stay away from the bosoms of the children. Is this a priest?
Don't tinkle near the children.
Don't tinkle and put pieces of gold in bosoms of children. But the sentiment is good.
Don't tinkle on the children's bosoms.
Yeah, no, let's not.
Easy there, R. Kelly.
Oh man. Well, this guy sounds really nice.
He does. I think this is a good guy.
Yes, this is supposed to be a good guy.
Yes.
I think.
Unfortunate word choice.
Yeah.
"You have no girdle," said the prince.
See, he's letting it all hang out too. Yeah.
"I once had one," answered the gold gatherer, "but it was so tight over my breast that my heart grew cold under it and almost ceased to beat. Having a great quantity of gold on my back, I felt almost at the last gasp. So I threw off my girdle, and being on the bank of a river, which I knew not how to cross, I was about to fling it in, I was so vexed. But no, thought I, there are many people waiting here to cross besides myself. I will make my girdle into a bridge, and we will cross over on it." "Turn your girdle into a bridge?" said the prince doubtfully, for he did not quite understand. The man explained himself.
He's going to use the money to help the community by having better infrastructure, which makes the working class much happier. And boom, motherfuckers!
If you're not going to go swimming in it, you should use your money to fix things for your neighbors.
Damn right. Damn right.
The man explained himself. "And then, sir, after that," he continued, "I turned one half of my burden into bread and gave it to these poor people. Since then, I have not been oppressed by its weight, however heavy it may have been, for few men have a heavier one. In fact, I gather more from day to day." As the man kept speaking, he scattered his gold right and left with a cheerful countenance, and the prince was about to reply when suddenly a great trembling under his feet made him fall to the ground. The refining fires of the gold gatherers sprang up into flames and then went out. Night fell over everything on the earth, and nothing was visible in the sky but the stars of the Southern Cross. "It is past midnight," thought the prince, "for the stars of the cross begin to bend." He raised himself upon his elbow and tried to pierce the darkness, but could not. At length, a slender blue flame darted out as from ashes in a chafing dish, and by the light of it, he saw the strange pattern of his carpet and the cushions lying about. He did not recognize them at first, but presently he knew that he was lying in his usual place at the top of his tower.
Take me back! Take me back!
"Wake up, Prince," said the old man. The prince sat up and sighed, and the old man inquired what he had seen. "Oh, man of much learning," answered the prince, "I have seen that this is a wonderful world. I have seen the value of labor, and I know the uses of it. I have tasted the sweetness of liberty, and am grateful, though it was but in a dream. But as for the other word that was so great a mystery to me, I only know this, that it must remain a mystery forever. Since I am fain to believe that all men are bent on getting it, though once gotten, it causeth them endless disquietude, only second to their discomfort that are without it. I am fain to believe that they can procure with it whatever they most desire, and yet that it cankers their hearts and dazzles their eyes. That it is their nature and their duty to gather it, and yet that when once gathered, the best thing they can do is to scatter it."
Trickle-down economics if it actually fucking worked.
Yeah. The next morning, when he awoke, the old man was gone. He had taken with him the golden cup.
Fucking rude!
Well, it was supposed to be payment for his crazy trip.
No. But it just proves the point.
And the sentinel was also gone. None knew whither. Perhaps the old man had turned his golden cup into a golden key. The end.
I think they sent the old man to the prince to they're like, he's a prisoner, quote unquote, and then he's gonna show him the ways of the world, or he paid the sentinel. Oh,
yeah,
because the sentinel is probably a slave or a very poorly paid servant. So he gave him this golden cup to let him out, to free him.
The prince
and the sentinel was like, "Peace, I'm gonna go turn this in and have a better life."
Yeah, the prince gave the old man the golden cup as a thank you for showing him the world. The old man used the golden cup to pay off the guard so he could be set free, and the guard took the golden cup and was able to leave the shitty job, which is what happens when rich people share the wealth instead of hoarding it.
Yeah.
Because that one golden cup, instead of just being a decoration, was then used to help 3 people's lives, really.
Well, and also now the prince knows how to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah, just pay someone.
He's got a bunch of shit, and he's being held there by slaves and poorly paid attendants. Give them all the shit that you're having this beautiful tower, and you will be free.
Open the vault and walk away.
Yep, and he just learned that.
Yep.
He has all this stuff, so now he knows how to get out. The man showed him the world and showed him the way out. Now he has to decide if he wants it.
I like that this entire story can be summed up in one immortal lyric.
Okay.
Mo money, mo problems.
I got 99 problems and a bitch ain't one, because there were no women in the story.
Well, there's that too.
That was good. That was very progressive.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
That felt like something that was written yesterday.
Yeah, quite the parable.
Yeah, and there were a lot of aspects of other fairy tales that you felt in it, the very Lewis Carroll, with the fact they used literal drugs to go see the world. But then very is Rapunzel Grimm's? I would assume it was.
Oh, I'm not sure.
What is it is a Brothers Grimm. So it did have that reference to a story that had been said, but very different spin on it.
Right.
Of being locked away in a tower to quote unquote protect.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm assuming this prince has been put there to protect him from the world.
Either
in the
that,
eyes of his parents.
Either that, or it's an Oedipus thing where there was a prophecy that he's going to grow up to
and like marry his mother,
murder his dad and marry his mom,
or free the freaking slaves, and let them revolt and take over the country because it's fucking wrong to treat people like shit. And yeah.
This is the Targaryen prince.
Oh, that very well could be it. And now he's seen the way.
Yeah.
Oopsie. You can't escape your fate, y'all.
Yeah. I would ask that our listeners share their interpretations of this story, but I actually think it's fairly clear. I don't think it takes a lot of it's a pretty clear message.
It's a pretty clear message.
It's a little nail on the head there.
If we missed any, it's very beautifully told, but I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Jean Ingelow. All right.
Yeah. That was a good one.
She was, that makes sense. Her father got fired from a bank because there was like a recession. So a man that had worked his whole life and had a very a very good lifestyle, kind of all of a sudden got thrown out to the shitter.
Yeah.
And that affected their whole life and her upbringing and her view of the world. So that absolutely makes sense. Yeah. So she tied that knowledge of her youth into it. But yeah, go out and do something nice for someone. Pay it forward, y'all.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
that's a good message to take from this. Pay it forward.
Pay it forward.
Go watch that movie.
It's a good movie. Yeah,
I've actually never seen it.
Or go watch Zorro. Zorro,
which is always
the Legend of Zorro. Just so you know,
the Mask of Zorro,
which was our
author
last week. The Mask of Zorro. Oh my God, go watch it. Just because everyone's pretty. And also it's a good story, or like a Robin Hood or something.
Mm-hmm.
This is very. The hero in the story was kind of that guy that came in and shoved coins at people.
So the moral of the story is get children high.
I guess we don't know how old the prince is, but
well, in my head, the prince was like 12.
Oh, see, in my mind, he was like 16. I don't know why, but yeah.
All right, fine. Get teenagers high.
Definitely teenagers should get high. I mean, Campfire Classics. Marijuana should be legal. I don't know about this stuff they were smoking, but
yeah. All right. I think that's everything for this week, unless you've got a final sort of parting shot.
No, I think that was good. I didn't cough as much as I'm glad I wasn't reading.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. As always, please do message us to let us know your thoughts. You can email us at 5050artsproduction@gmail.com or shoot us a message at any of the social media. Just looking for Campfire Classics Podcast. We're pretty easy to find. And when you write in, if you care to, go ahead and use this week's secret passcode, which is "Don't Finger My Girdle."
Please don't. Yeah. Unless you have been given approval and consent.
Consent is key.
Consent is key.
And consent is the golden
And then my
key.
girdle will tinkle.
Yep.
And there she goes.
Until next week, this has been Campfire Classics, where we try to read those books that look really good on your shelf.
Money, 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 money. If you're open to be rich and happy, I don't know the words to the song, but does it really matter? Because it's about a prince learning about the gold.